Thank you very much, Dan. 2-0, and Matt Bacon with both goals here for the St. Michaels Majors as they lead the Brampton Battalion in this game between GTA rivals. And GTA rivals this year has an extra meaning to it for the GTA Cup. It's time for the business of the O, and joining us in our discussion this week is Jeff Mackey, our good friend from Canadian Press, covers the Ontario Hockey League all season long. Jeff, always great to have you in studio. GTA Cup, we're going to be honest, we don't know a great deal about it. The fact of the matter is the 3 GTA teams have moved to one division. They've created a cup inside the regular season to try to create some more interest, make it a little bit more of a meeting. Is it a good idea, bad idea in your estimation, Jeff?
Well, I don't think necessarily a bad idea, but is it a good idea? I don't think that it's really worked at all. I mean, the crowd out here tonight is pretty embarrassing, even for St. Mike's standards. And the games between these two teams so far this season, Brampton and Toronto, the first one was an exciting overtime winner. And tonight's game is another pretty exciting contest. But does it mean anything to the players? I don't think so. They play hard every game, and I don't think the coaches instruct them to go harder in this game. And it hasn't really meant anything to the fans either. There hasn't been a mention at all here this evening of the OHL Cup, and I don't think any of these fans really know that there's any significance to this game.
I'm going to call Dan and Len upstairs in on this discussion as well, guys. I'm sure you heard that. You know, the idea is good. You want to encourage more competition between the GTA teams. Putting them in the same division, good idea. But will this cup ever mean anything? Dan and then Len, your thoughts on this?
Well, I would agree, I think, with our guest that I don't know if it will really mean anything to the players, but, you know, I'm one for doing anything it takes to attract more attention to the GTA teams in the OHL. That being said, though, Len, again, I mean, how much do the players care about this cup? They're playing for playoffs. They're playing for futures, hopefully in the National Hockey League. And you don't coach to win this cup, but I guess it's a little cherry on top of the sundae, perhaps, for what it's worth.
Well, Dan, I agree with you. If you could bring the awareness up to get more people aware of the 3 teams in the GTA, and if this cup is meant to do that, then I'm all for it. But you're right, the players, they try hard every game. The coaches, they're there to coach. But again, it's a good concept. Hopefully they could take it a step further.
And one thing, Roger, if I just jump in, I know, I mean, both you and I at the fan in Toronto, first I've heard of the GTA Cup, and I know having been on the air all afternoon today, it's something I would have liked to have heard about before when I was talking about the fact this game was on tonight. And that's something our guest already mentioned. Who knew?
Well, that's true enough, and Jeff, that is the problem, I suppose, and even if you know, all right, the GTA Cup, there's going to be a trophy for the top team, but inside the regular season, how do you make that mean anything? They're jockeying for position. There's the divisions, there's a conference, there's the playoffs, so there's a trophy. I mean, maybe in a few years, if the thing builds up and there's some interest in it. Right now, Dan's right. The fact is, it hasn't been largely promoted. Nobody really knows exactly how it works, and maybe that's part of the problem.
Exactly. The only thing that matters to these 3 teams and to the fans of these 3 teams is which team is playing the longest and which team makes it furthest in the playoffs. This means absolutely nothing. These players, they won't remember this. The fans will remember this. I don't think the coaches will really care about this. It's just something that's meant to create interest. And the fact is that it hasn't done that. The publicity hasn't been there. The crowds in all 3 buildings this year have been really bad, and it's a problem that the OHL has to address on a deeper level than simply creating an OHL GTA Cup, in my mind, anyway.
Dan, Len, anything they can do to try to create the interest between these matches in the GTA, or at least putting them in the same division, is that going to be good enough?
You know, I think the same division will help without a doubt. I think the more often you have, for example, Toronto playing Brampton and Brampton playing Mississauga and Toronto playing Mississauga, I think that's what helps. I think rivalries help sport, period. You look at the National Football League, the NHL, Major League Baseball, it's the rivalry games that draw the fans. And I know that there's arena issues with St. Mike's, and who knows down the road where that will take us. But I think if we keep up building these rivalries more than a GTA Cup, and maybe the GTA Cup helps with that. Maybe they become one and the same thing down the road. So let's hope for the sake of the game.
Absolutely. Dan, Len, thanks very much. And Jeff, I don't think there's any question that we all want more attention on GTA teams. We all think the key in Toronto is to get rivalries going between these teams. But the bottom line, as much as I like the idea too as a cup, as a trophy, it's got to mean something to the players. And how is it going to mean something in the context of a regular season?
Well, I don't think it really can. And I think the best way you're going to create rivalries between the 3 GTA teams if those 3 teams are all competitive at the same time. And Mississauga is not in the same category right now as St. Michaels Majors, and the Brampton Battalion appear to be somewhere in between right now. Maybe next season you might see all 3 teams being in the upper tier of the Eastern Conference, but this season it just isn't there at this time.
Well, of course, it's a long season, and hopefully after football, NFL football season, after Christmas, attendance usually goes up at games. So I want to be too negative about it because after Christmas, crowds dramatically increase throughout the league. So let's hope they can build on that. And I guess the important thing, as you said, Jeff, is so far this year, the Majors, I think, have been kind of a pleasant surprise at 6-3, 2-1. You know, that's right at the top of the conference. Brampton looks good, even though they're slumping at 500. And Mississauga is a lot tougher now. Mr. Ludzik's finally done a job there. They've won a couple of games, and they're an easier thing. So if they all start winning, like you say, that's where the interest is going to be. Because let's face it, one of the reasons the GTA team's rivalry wasn't there is, we'd be blunt, the Ice Dogs just weren't any good in the first 5-6 years they were in the league.
Exactly. I don't think the Mississauga Ice Dogs even have a rival just because they haven't been competitive on the same level as any of the other teams. And certainly the rivalry with the Toronto St.Michaels Majors has been just a geographic rivalry. It hasn't been a competitive rivalry at all. And in fact, some of the games between Mississauga and St. Mike's have been the worst hockey games I've ever seen in this league. So something has to change. And the easiest thing for that to happen is for the Mississauga Ice Dogs to get better. And they are getting better. They have a lot of talent this year. Patrick O'Sullivan is an outstanding player, and Daniel Siska, he's just named captain of that team, another great player. And Robbie Schremp, of course, the first overall pick last year. There's a lot to be excited about in Mississauga, and if they can put some wins on the board, then you're talking about building a rivalry, I think.
Bottom line is wins in the standings, whether it's a GTA Cup or not. We'll see how it all transpires throughout the course of the season. Jeff Mackey of Canadian Press covers the OHL on a regular basis. Jeff, thanks so much.
Thanks, Roger.